If anybody remembers differently, please tell me, because it doesn't make much difference. Right. We can start before. We're going to discuss anyway how we got to this point here as an introduction to what we're going to go. So, Avraham, does that fit with you? Gabriel, does that fit with you well?
Yeah, I mean...
If you want me to go back a little bit, it doesn't matter. We always introduce the next year.
Yeah, I mean, I just, my translation, not excluding my notes, I mean...
So tell me where you want to start. I think this is how far we went, maybe a line or two before. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I think my notes are to the end of the line.
At the end of which line?
That's where I'm the line. But that could just be...
I'm sorry, which line are you talking about?
The one that starts with V'hester. I'll just put that.
V'hester. So which one are you saying? Oh, it's a line before, in other words.
Yeah.
Shalvushim malim mastirim al bechina madrega zo. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol v'yivayim. All right, so we'll start there, start here. The point that we discussed, the last point that we discussed, I spent a lot of time in trying to get to the full understanding, is the concept of ha'ora. And we explained that there are two terms. One is called the oyer, and one is called the ha'ora. Oyer is an emanation directly from its source, such as, say, sunlight. There is light emanating from the sun, which is a reflection of what the sun is. I just tell you, what is the sun? Light. Ha'ora is when this light it becomes qualified, becomes limited, so that it actually can relate to objects outside of it. It's how the light affects our world, for instance. When the sunlight hits the land, our world, it does not transform our world into light at the category in the lane of the sun. It remains essentially, in essence, a dark world, except you're able to see objects. Whereas in the sun, there is no darkness at all, there is no light. It would be correct to say that light to the sun is in the same fundamental reality as darkness to us. The fundamental reality of our world is darkness. The fundamental reality of the sun is light. Therefore, it's essentially light. There is no light that illuminates the sun. It is light through and through. Like we explained the other day, that the light of the sun is created in a totally different way than the light of a candle. A candle fits into our world because the core of the candle is a wick which is dark. And this dark element burns, and then it creates light, and the light is a very limited light fitting our dark world. That light is what's called functional light. Functional light means it has the effect of light, but it is not the essence of light. Whereas the light in the sun does not come from a dark spot, from darkness. It is light through and through. There's no darkness in the sun whatsoever. Therefore, the sunlight per se, as it is in the sun, and our world cannot correlate. They're in two different categories completely. One is totally opposite of the other. in order to correlate two things, you have to find something that allows there, so to speak, a bit of compromise, a little bit of correlation, and that happens in this when the sunlight diminishes its intensity, diminishes its principle that it is essential light, and it becomes what's called light to illuminate. It's called functional light. Functional light means that it has the effect of light, but it doesn't have the essence of light. And this is when the sunlight can illuminate our world, and the illumination of our world essentially is to make us able to allow us to see the physical world. It doesn't change it. The physical world, in essence, remains dark, but the light makes it possible for us to see. This is a combination of darkness with light together. Yes, you want to ask a question?
Were we talking of the metaphor of the fact that the light from the sun changes the reality and makes it day, while the light of anything else won't make it day, it'll just make light for us to see?
This we spoke, and this is another aspect. We spoke yesterday. I'm talking about now the lower element of the sunlight, what's called the hislapshus. Hislapshus means that it actually, how does it illuminate our world? And in terms of us being able to see objects, it is by actually relating to the object. As we said yesterday, by deflecting from the object. This is why there are different colors, because different colors deflect the light differently, with different degrees. That's why there's black, white, red, blue, green. Because it deflects the light, because the light illuminates only bihislapshus, only with a combination with an object, with what's called a keli. And this level of light is called ha'ora. Ha'ora means a subset of the light, not the essence. The essence, a subset which can once if it's a subset, then it is no longer divorced, so to speak. It's a different category than the sun itself, which is the essence. Essence cannot combine with anything. Always remains the same by itself. Essence stays what it is. But a subset, and ha'ora, and a reflection of that, can combine with other things and illuminating them. If it's not clear, I mean, this is just a very physical illustration. But if you feel a little bit unclear about it, we'll go to a much more significant and a deeper aspect. You okay about it so far? Then you from a subset? Yeah, okay.
It's a byproduct.
It's not a byproduct. It's a reduced. As I said, it's a functional element of it. Let me.
It can relate to something else, or it can't relate to anything but itself.
Nothing, right? Or it stays what it is. Let me go to something more significant. In a human being, there's a soul. There's a body. The soul relates to the body via various koiches, it's called, various effects, various functional elements, like such as intellect, emotion, and so forth. Now, the tip, so to speak, of the soul's presence in the body, the soul itself is much higher, but the tip of the soul's presence in the body is what we call emunah, faith. This is where a person senses reality without needing to express it in worldly terms. Just this is a pure reality in itself, because the soul is what provides it. Life itself is true. I don't have to explain it. It's true. It's truer than anything in the world. From that life experience, from that life reality, emanate all kinds of different functional qualities, such as intellect, emotion. Now, intellect and emotion and all other koiches, speech, walking, talking, touching, all of these things are able to relate to objects outside of the person. Like in the intellect, we have a subject. We understand such and such. We feel such and such about things. Emunah, the element of emunah, is much superior to that. Emunah does not relate to any particular aspect of the world, or any particular aspect of an object. It is just the experience of life itself. What is life? For example, we have a fully functioning person. You say, what is the presence of this person? Oh, he's able to do such and such. He's able to do big things. He can teach, study, create, build, whatever it is. Then, God forbid, you have a person who is extremely weak. Typically, when a person is at the last moments of his life, he's not able to do anything. He's fully alive. And we are instructed by the Torah to be most careful about this person, because every second of his life has a full quality of living. And if you shorten that by 1 second, by Torah definition, you're guilty of murder. Functionally, he's not able to do anything. So what have you affected? What is he aware of the time? Doesn't have a functional awareness. It's just, but he is aware. He's alive. This is what's called the essence of life itself. And it does not relate to anything else. Normally, a person has also this essence of life, but you don't pay attention to that. What you pay attention is to what he's able to do, which is how that translates in terms of his slapshus, relating to other things. This is called hislapshus. And all the koiches, all the various functioning qualities of a person, that through which he affects various things in the world, these are all called ha'ora of the nefesh. Subset. And there's a big difference what the person is engaged in. Say, for instance, even the intellect. When the person is intellectually involved in mathematics or in mechanics, versus if he's involved in philosophy or in Torah. It's a different level of the seichel. There, the slapshot, so to speak, the keli through which this is functioning, makes a big difference. But in the essence, makes no difference. This is what we said before. Okay? Okay, so we're saying, let's continue now inside. We are starting in the line that begins, Hislapshus ba'alomas v'hastedi. The Hislapshus comes to be ba'alomas v'hastedim as a result of concealing the pure light itself. Shehalvushim ma'alimim v'mastirim, or the garments that contain this light, they conceal al bechinas umadregezu. They have an effect on this madreg, which means that ha'ora is affected by the levush, by the object that it comes to. Just like we said, sunlight, if it shines on a a pure area, on a white area, it will deflect a much more powerful amount of light. And if it shines on a dirty area, it will deflect a much less amount of light. Okay. Now, all of this discussion here directly was related to the discussion of the nevuah, of the prophecy. And we were explaining the difference between Moshe, the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu versus the prophecy of all other Nevi'im. And now we are talking about other Nevi'im. Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy we discussed way before. That other Nevi'im, their prophecy comes through this hislapshus, which means by the time it gets to them, it's already reduced. It has only a functional element, a ha'or. And therefore, the day love legili hanavua, by other Nevi'im, in order to reach and to have to come to this point, the Gili Hanvua, the revelation of the Nevuah, Rav Shalom. Tzorich liyes dafko, it must be emphatically and exclusively alidei hasoras halavushim hamastirim, only by removing the garments that conceal. Because since on this nevuah is on this lower level of a ha'or, any garment affects it and conceals it. Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah came from the essence, and there nothing affects it. He can be in full worldly involvement, and it's not affected, not reduced. But by the other Nevi'im, it is only the ha'or, and therefore the levushim actually affect it. V'zehu, and thus this explains the point, shehoyotzi tzorich liyes b'nevi'im hafshotas hagashmiyus. By the Nevi'im, there was a requirement, in order to get nevuah, they had to go through what's called hafshotas hagashmiyus, divorcing themselves from the gashmiyus. Not be aware of the gashmiyus for the moment. Here I told you the story of the Rebbe Maharash and the Rebbe Rashab. V'chol novi v'novi, and every novi, each novi, lefum shiura delay, according to his own measure, b'mesiras nefesh, the extent of the depth of his mesiras nefesh.
How you say the word?
Lefum shiura delay. Lefum shiura delay means lefum means according, shiura means measure, delay that is specifically his. Delay means his. B'mesiras nefesh, v'hafshotas hagashmiyus, and the removing of the gashmiyus. Hainu, which means in simple terms, kefi oifon hasoros halavushim hamastirim, in a manner, in the extent and the purity with which he was able to, so to speak, step out of the garments that conceal. Kein hoysor yosei. To that extent, with that clarity was his recognition, vision, vasagose, and his understanding. Mishom hoyso kabolas gilui nevose. And from there, from that level, he received the gilui anvur, the revelation of this light of nevuah. So his nevuah depended entirely on the degree to which he was preparing himself and divorcing himself, so to speak, from the obstruction of the gashmis. Let's stop here for a moment, because we have, in all the discussions that we've had, we have sufficient analytical points that we can actually point out this principle here. We spoke, for example, about a very simple principle. And 1 and 1 is 2. Okay, we mentioned it many, many times. And it's a good stepstone to understand deeper the intellect and the neshama. 1 and 1 is 2. Now, this 1 and 1 is 2, as we said, why is 1 and 1 is 2? Maybe 1 and 1 is 1 and 1. What makes them 2? So we say that, in fact, physically speaking, 1 and 1 is 1 and 1. The fact that they're a sum of 2 don't relate them, don't make them 2. They remain 1 and 1. When we say that they are 2 totally on the physical level, we mean to say there are 2 ones. It's not there's no concept of 2 per se. There are 2 ones. Since I want to know how many ones I have, so I have a means by referring to that sum. 1 and 1 is 2 ones. It doesn't change anything. But then, when we examine more closely our own thinking, we realize that a human being does have a concept of 2. A computer does not. A computer can only answer. When a computer says that it's 2, it means to say 2 ones. But a human being, 1 and 1, 2 means 2, as we explained many times. When you have 2 apples, 1 and 1, these 2 apples are not just individual apples. They are 2 of the same thing. The fact that there is 2 of the same thing make you think of the fact that these 2 of the same thing come from the same source. There is something that relates them. Because the human being has an insight. He understands. He looks at things not only from their manifest and external state. He looks at things from their inception, from what they represent. And when there is multiple of the same thing, just like there are 2 people. 2 people to us mean because the Rebbe created human beings. And he created human beings. He created each human being Hashem created as a human being. So Hashem, when you have 2 human beings, I said Hashem created 2 human beings, not 2 separate entities. If you're comparing, let's say, a table and a chair, and you say 1, 2, then these 2 do not relate. They are 2 separate entities. The number is 2, but they're not related. But if you say there are 2 tables, they are 2 of the same thing, that means something special to a human being. And only to a human being. It's not just a mathematical statement, it's a conceptual statement. Because this is what's called intellect. The intellect is the human insight of what is the basis of this presence. And this is when the things are there of the same thing, so that means that the basis of this thing produces 2 of the same thing, rather than just 1, or 10, or how many more. This is why we have a big difference in halacha. When you have 3 people, you can bench together. When you have 10 people, you can make a minyan, and the numbers go on, 100 and 1,000. They're all different. Why? Because they all represent a deeper reality through their interrelationship. But that is only perceived by a deeper human insight. So, when we come down and we say, okay, 1 and 1 is 2. This concept of 2, as we said, deep down is a very deep, very significant concept. But as it comes down into the lavush, into an illustration, I say conceptually there is a unity among things. Oh, okay, what does that mean? If I can't explain it, I'll give it to you in terms of 1 and 1 is 2. Once it comes down, so to speak, to a levush, to a garment of this nature, 1 and 1 is 2, you're almost at the verge of losing the whole concept. Then you first have to restore the concept. Because you say, well, the computer also knows 1 and 1 is 2. You don't need to be a human being for that. So you say, yes, the computer, but you know it, the computer will never know. You have to kind of... So this is when it comes down into a levush, then it conceals the oil, conceals the real message, the real point. And this is what the Nevi'im perceived. The better, the deeper was their dissociation from the physical limits and from the levush and the garments to which they saw the nevuah, the more profound was their nevuah.
The other prophets were more profound
Yes.
than Moshe?
No. Relative to the other prophets, the more they removed the concealment, the deeper was their perception. Moshe Rabbeinu was not affected by all these things. Moshe Rabbeinu saw the reality itself directly. That's called Zeth, that we discussed the other day.
And this requires that the previous type of nevuah requires an effort of sorts.
Sorry?
The previous type of nevuah, when the inferior type requires an effort.
It requires an effort, and the effort consists of preparing, of dissociating from the garment, the means by which you get to see this nevuah. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have a means to which he saw the reality, the godly reality itself. This is called Zeh, as we discussed throughout, later. Okay. And this is what the Rebbe says, that the Nevi'im, they varied. Every Novi was different in Madrege, depending on the extent to which he was able to shed, to remove the garment that concealed the Nevuah. Ukmoye, for as an example, Yechezkel. These are the famous Nevi'im that we know. Yechezkel, they all had this one. Yechezkel B'itzira. His vision of the Nevuah was at the level of the world of Yitzira. The Yeshaya, and his level was in Bibriya. The Kulam, and all of them, Rak Bebchinas Netzach V'hoi De'atzilus, Shebo Bebchinas Islapshus. So these terms here, we're not going to go into great length in describing this. In brief, what this is saying, that a little bit I'll discuss it in the following way. When we just now finished saying that 1 and 1 is 2, and 2 is an intellectual insight. Now this intellectual insight, it can be, so to speak, aroused and elicited by the question of 1 and 1, which is a very superficial, external question. But where does it come from? Where does it emanate from, this whole concept? The capability of seeing that there is a concept of unity, of 2. There's no limit. It goes higher and higher and higher, all the way into the essence of the soul. But we don't perceive that at that level. We see it only to the extent that it explains the concept of 1 and 1, which is just an intellectual level. This intellectual level that we perceive is itself an emanation of a higher quality in the soul. And that is further on the higher quality in the soul and so forth. So the similar union is what we said before, Yechezkel B'Yitzira and Yeshaya B'Briya. Now, all Nevuah means a godly message. A godly message is essentially what's called from the world of Atzilus, which is pure godliness. So therefore, this godly message, whether it is in Bria or in Yitzira, it all comes from Atzilus. Within Atzilus itself, there are various madrigas. There is the Avo, Ein, the Chochmah Bina. Then there is Chagas, the Midas, and then there is Nehi, the lower thing, and there's the Malchus. So from Atzilus, there's this godly emanation, this godly message, depending on what madrigi this godly message originates from, in Atzilus itself. Even though ultimately, but the novice sees it, it's at the point where it reaches the level of Yitzira or Bria. But where is its origin? This is what the Rebbe is saying, that all of the Nevi'im, the origin of their Nevuah is b'bchinas Netzach v'Hoid the Zoda Atzilus, is only from Netzach v'Hoid, which is in the lower levels of Atzilus, Shebo b'bchinas Yislapshus, which ultimately is mislabish, ultimately expresses itself in specific messages, rather than seeing the godly reality itself. Avo b'Moshe ksiv, but by Moshe itself, it says, Lo yichein avdi Moshe. Hashem said, you know the story of Achei Avdi Moshe? The posuk Lo yichein avdi Moshe. This is a posuk in Chumash. So I don't mind telling you what it is. It just I was interested to know how familiar we are. This is where Miriam and Aaron were kind of criticizing behind Moshe's back.
And they got Tzoras?
And Miriam got Tzoras.
About the Tzipora?
About Tzipora. They were criticizing Moshe Rabbeinu. And Hashem called them all out. And then Hashem spoke to Aaron and Moshe and Miriam. And he said, how did you dare to speak about Moshe?
How come Aaron didn't get Tzoras?
What?
Was Miriam initiated? How come Aaron?
Miriam initiated, right? Rashi says that. But the Dabe Miriam and Aaron, they're Moshe.
That's the week I came to Shiloh 4 weeks ago. That was 4 weeks ago. And I came to Shiloh that week.
Yeah, no, Baal Yisrael. So it says, and then Hashem said, because their criticism of Moshe was, how come he stayed away? How come he stayed away from home, from Tzipora? Because he has Nevuah, so we also Nevi'im. Hashem spoke to us also. And we didn't have to separate from the world. So Hashem said to them, your Nevuah is, whatever Madrigi is, the Mara is like in a vision, in appearance. But my servant Moshe is different than all of your Nevi'im. Whitman says over here, Lo yichein avdi Moshe. What does it say over there? Peh el peh adaber bey. I speak with him, to him, peh el peh, mouth to mouth. Umare, and a complete presentation, v'loi b'chidois, and not in riddles. Chido means like a riddle. I'm showing you something and you can deduce from this what I mean to tell you. This means a chido. V'hainu, which means bebchinas his galus atzmius oir hachochma. Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah was at the level of his galus, of the presentation, of the manifestation, atzmius oir hachochma, the essence of the light of chochma. Shebo, we're in it, in this, in chochma, shoyre oir soiboru. Chochmah is different than all other midas. Chochmah is, so to speak, the like I mentioned before, emunah, faith. This is, so to speak, the pinnacle of the presence of the neshama in the guf. Chochmah, the highest madrega in Chochmah is actually at the level of faith. Faith. This is like an ascent of the neshama itself. So this was. Excuse me?
Faith or face?
Faith. Emunah.
Emunah, okay.
This is my first effect. I had to extract a couple of teeth. I can't say faith anymore. I had to restore it.
I'm going to get my wisdom tooth removed. You can have them if you want.
It's okay. I got the new wisdom. And the first experience. And so far I was able to fake it, but it didn't work with the TH. Emunah is really, and this is like the spark of nefesh, of life. And that is what's called Chokhmah. The Alter Rebbe explains that Chokhmah, even though it's one of the three koiches, the three faculties of intellect, but essentially the Chokhmah, the higher level of Chokhmah, is not even part of the intellect. It's above the intellect. It's above the intellect to the extent that we do not really fully understand it. What's the matter?
I'm just curious. What is that like beep sound that comes out every once in a while?
What?
That like beep.
It's when there's an electronic clock and the time switches to like an even amount of time and usually beeps.
I don't know this. Okay. Don't worry about it.
To watch that happens every hour. No,
All right. Oir ha-chochmah shebo shoira oir ein soif baruhu, in which the oir ein soif rests in chochmah, bilti his lapshus b'midos or b'mchinas man. Without his lapshus b'midos, without being contained and represented in the midos. Like we spoke the other day, Monday, when we discussed this, that Avraham Avinu served Hashem in the midah of Chesed. Chesed represented the godly presence in the world. But that is a hislapshus. That's a means through which godly is recognized.
Yitzchak was Gevurah, right?
Yitzchak was Gevurah.
And Yaakov was Emetz.
Defense.
That's why that also Emetz, right? Because I heard a shot that it was very hard for him everyone had their test on their own level. Avram's was with kindness, so when it came to the Akedah, it was very hard for him to go and chef Yitzchak, because kindness and benevolence was his thing, so to go and take Yitzchak to the Akedah was a hard thing. Yitzchak's was strength, and to submiss, and to go to the Akedah was very hard for him. It was his own test. And Yaakov, when he had to lie to Yitzchak, it was his test, and also because he embodied MS, and for him to go and
misrepresent.
Yeah,
it was a real
cool.
challenge.
On their own level, that's like, I don't know what we're talking about.
Which one's lightning, which one's thunder? Bracha.
The bracha for lightning is Oisha Ma'aseh Bereshis.
So you have to see the streak, right?
You have to see both of them. You have to see it running. You have to see it has to be raining also.
No, if we see the thunder, and then if we hear thunder and we see the lightning, then we say Oisha Ma'aseh Bereshis.
Do you see the rain also? It has to be raining at the same time.
I can see like the rain. I can see that it's raining, but it's not like I can't see the rain.
I'll tell you something. We don't have to interrupt. You'll see it after. It's still coming. I'm assuring you. They're expecting a big thunderstorm.
Because last week's last week's parsha, they said that everyone has to everyone has their own special mitzvah, right? In Pinchas, that everyone has their own special mitzvah, and that we have to find our own special mitzvah, like that'll bring us like the next level of service and help all our other mitzvahs as well, right? So that was kind of also, I guess, in a way their test, because it's usually the thing that you feel like you can't do the most.
That which is the most challenging. I know what you're referring to. Pinchas came out and Beseres Nefer. Okay. So by Moshe, it was loy bechidos. The Muvui came directly the way it is above, not camouflaged. Camouflage, everybody know what that means? Through some kind of a indirect message, that's bechidus, that's like a riddle. V'hainu b'chinas is galus atzmius oir hachokma. The atzmius oir hachokma, the very essence of the light of Chokhmah, shabo shoira oir insoy borhu, in which dwells the oir insoy, building his lapsus b'midos, building his lapsus b'midos. I'll run back a light, without being contained and represented in midos. Or b'chinas mara, and it is in a matter, and it's not. And it's a matter of him, of a full, pure vision. Kiyim gilui ho'etzem k'mei shehu. Or b'chinas mara maybe refers to, it stops with b'mira in a form of mara, of an appearance. Whereas here it was gilui ho'etzem k'mei shehu, the revelation of the essence as it is in itself, without a representation of it. This is the union of Moshe.
We said before on the previous page.
Yeah.
About Moshe's nevuah, I think of Moichin. Let's stop in Zohar.
No. Well, depends. We said that all nevuah is mitzad moichin. Like we explained the other day what is moichin is. Okay? And it does not get dressed in anything. It is the etzem ha-chochma, the way it is. Other nevuah, Levi, have to go through his lapsus in other qualities. This is why Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the only one who could bring down the Torah to the world. There are many scholars. Actually, the Gemara tells the story of Moshe Rabbeinu was up in heaven to receive the Torah. You know the story I'm referring to? Moshe Rabbeinu was up in heaven to receive the Torah. And he was kind of privy to seeing everything that's going on. And he was in the various Rabbi Akiva, yeah? In the various palaces, what?
And he went to a share.
Right, and he went to a shir Rabbi Akiva was giving. Rabbi Akiva was giving a shir in Torah. And the order, the way later on the Gemara also tells about the same thing. The order of there was a very strict order of seating. Rabbi Akiva was in the head, and then there were rows of Talmidim in front of him. And the closer to the Rabbi Akiva is the higher order. The Talmidim that were on a lower level were further in different rows and so forth. And Moshe Rabbeinu came in, and he had to find his place where he belonged. And he found that he belonged in the last row, relative to all the scholars that were sitting in front of Rabbi Akiva. And he was listening to Rabbi Akiva's shir. And Rabbi Akiva was dashing Kisri Yosis, the crowns of the Yosis, or learning out all kinds of different words. So Moshe Rabbeinu kind of felt a little dejection, and he said, and says, "What's going on over here?" Until Rabbi Akiva said some halacha, some din, and one of the Talmidim asked Rabbi Akiva, "Where did you get that from? How do you know this halacha?" Zeminai loch. And Rabbi Akiva said, halacha el Moshe Sinai. So Moshe Rabbeinu heard that, so he was pacified. In other words, the Indian, there could be greater scholarship, but the Indian of seeing the Chokhmah is uniquely Moshe Rabbeinu. Only he can bring the Torah down. Halacha el Moshe Sinai was only from Moshe. All other Chachamim, they can darshan and interpret what Moshe Rabbeinu taught, but they cannot bring a new revelation from heaven. As a matter of fact, the Gemara says various stories that there was a baskel, coming from heaven, and the Chacham said, we don't listen to baskels. We have a Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu, and baskels cannot have any effect. Moshe Rabbeinu
Which Gemara is it?
Huh?
Which
The
Gemara?
baskel? Which Gemara?
The story was in the Gemara, the one from Moshe Rabbeinu.
With Bakiva, which
Yeah.
then I don't remember where it was, but the baskel story is I think it's in Baba Basra also. There was a very intense controversy among giants of Torah. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkinus, you may have heard of Eliezer ben Hurkinus. He's called also Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, the great Rabbi Eliezer, and the Chachamim of his day. And they were arguing regarding a certain type of an oven made of rock, whether it can become Tomei or not. And how does it become Torah? Oh, machlokes. And all the Chachamim held one thing, and Rabbi Eliezer was on the other side, on the other opinion. So Rabbi Eliezer, he was convinced that he was right. And in the cloud, when they were arguing in Torah, this was a real milchama, fire. So Rabbi Eliezer said, let them prove from heaven that I'm right. So a baskel came out from heaven that said that everything that Rabbi Eliezer says is right. Allah is like Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua, who was a contemporary Rabbi Eliezer, you could see that he was quite a man. He had dared to say what he said. He got up and he said, we do not accept direction from the baskel. The Torah was given from Sinai, and the Torah is Hlei Bashamayim. It's not in heavens, it's here on earth, and only the way it is adjudicated here on earth is valid. That which comes from heaven, they have to accept from us, because we have now ownership of the Torah, not them in heaven. It's a nice thing about it. Okay. Okay, let's pursue this further. Ki im gili ho'etzem k'mei shehu. You have it? It's 5 lines on the bottom. V'lochein, and therefore, for this very reason, lo yehoyo tzorich lahafshotas hagashmius klal b'shor shenisnab. Moshe Rabbeinu did not need to go through this process of hafshotas hagashmius, of shedding the Gashmis, of dissociating from the world. When he was doing the Nevuah, why? Because when you see the essence, the reality itself, then nothing can obstruct it. And as it's written in the Zohar al Posuk, in commenting on the Posuk, where it says, V'shov el hamachane. And he returned to the machane, he returned to the camp. This is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. Just in that Posuk where it says, V'diber Hashem ha-Moshe ponim al ponim. Hashem spoke to Moshe ponim al ponim, face to face. Kasher yidabir ish al li'ehu, like a man would speak to his friend. And then it says, V'shov el ha-machane, and he will return back to the machane. So, what is this V'shov el ha-machane? How does it come over here? So the Zohar comments at the point over here, V'shov el ha-machane is, Shemiyat shenisnabo, that immediately, as he was giving the nevuah, Shovel HaMachane, he was able to go back to the Machane, Ledabe Etzrochi Tzibur, to speak about the need of the community. All of a sudden, he's talking about, what are you going to cook tonight? He is talking about nevuah, ponim to Hashem, and then he goes down, what's going on what we need to do in communal affairs. Bli shinui nira klau without any apparent difference. Lefi, because she'ein dover master lefon of klau, because nothing conceals and interferes with Moshe Rabbeinu's view. Mitzad shor shoy, because of the root of his neshama, lebchinas oir Abba, which is in oir Abba, in the light of Abba means chokhmah, v'hu lemato k'moy lemaylo, and he is here below exactly the same as he is above. Shagam lemato, because here is also here below, hu royes hanoilod, he sees, that it's mentioned before, royes hanoilod me'ayin liyesh, he sees hanoilod. He sees that which is born me'ayin, from nothingness. Hainu, which means sheroyes hayesh, as we explained before, that Moshe Rabbeinu sees the yesh k'mo shenimtzu me'ha'ayin. He sees the yesh of the world k'mo shenimtzu me'ha'ayin, in the way that it is produced and comes out from the ayin, from the godly nothingness, so to speak. So this we discussed when we first came across this thing, and this whole discussion over here ensued to explain that thing. But I'm going back to explain it because Yeshua is here. Royas hayesh meshinimtzum min ha'ayin means, this is actually an explanation on the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Ezehu chocham royas hanoilot. Who is a chocham who sees the noilat? So the Chassidus explains noilat, that which is born. It means that he sees the yesh as it gets born, created from nothingness, from ayin. What is the inference there? What is the significance of that statement? Do you remember? Would you like to explain? Eventually, you'll have to take over. What do you think? You'll be fed all your life. You'll have to take over.
I don't have it.
You don't have it clear? All right.
Is the source of when yesh becomes ayin, or ayin becomes yesh?
The cause and effect.
What?
The cause and effect.
No, Ila v'yolol is yesh mi yesh.
Yeah, but they can see the point where ayin becomes yesh.
No, ayin doesn't become yesh. Ayin is ayin and yesh is yesh.
They see where yesh comes from ayin.
Mm-hmm.
They see the origin of where yesh, where ayin ends and yesh begins.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. That's just what I thought. I thought it was like the Iluviola in this aspect. It's impossible for him to see that in the.
There's no Ila v'yola. Yesh and ayin are not Ila v'yola.
Was it like a number line where yesh becomes crossed over into ayin? Where you have a zero mark and then you have yesh and you have ayin?
But what is the significance of saying the yesh is neilad mi ha'ayin?
Yesh comes forth from the ayin.
Ayin and Yesh are two opposite states.
But nearly means is born means something has to be revealed or something's developed by your country. All the metaphors regarding being born, there's something had to happen that made sure that you were like an ayin is not.
Okay, listen, this is, what is the significance? The point is, what is the significance of all this? Neilad meho ayin. And this is the terminology, Noilad, it's born. Just as in a birth, even though an actual birth, you know something is developing, but the way it manifests itself in the world, when a baby is born,
Goes from not alive to alive right away in 1 second.
excuse me?
Because it goes from not alive to alive in 1 second.
Yeah, from non-presence. Before that, he was one with its mother.
I remember the story they told. I mean, I have it written down.
What?
The Alter Rebbe. Remember that?
Oh,
I have it written down right here. Like the Alter Rebbe, basically, he used to learn, and he got married, and he was living, in the house of his father-in-law and the mother-in-law, and the father-in-law wasn't happy with him at the time, and then eventually moved away and became huge, and started learning, and became, the Alter Rebbe.
no, he didn't start learning. He became a chosid. That's why he didn't like him. He was a great scholar before.
Right. And the mother-in-law said, "Come
Mother-in-law,
back."
yeah.
And what do you say? It's like the baby comes out of the womb and cries. It comes from comfort. But if you tell it to go back, the baby's going to say no.
You don't like it? Go back in the womb. All right, Noilod, given the inference, so to speak, the analogy of a baby born is that when a baby is born, it's like a totally novel presence. Here it was part of the mother, and it did not have any independent functions. It didn't breathe. It did not eat through its mouth. And nothing was processed in a normal way. Nothing was not independent. Uba Yerachime is one with the mother. It's being fed, so to speak, through the cord. But and it's a completely different presence. It's not an independent presence at all. Then all of a sudden he gets born. In one sense, he was born. He gets born, he becomes an entity unto itself. As a matter of fact, anybody who ever witnessed a newly born child, you don't believe it. It's a shock. Wow, a real kid. Right? And it's a real kid, and he cries, and she cries. They're also a real kid. The principle of this statement, is the reality is like this. Normally, when we see things, like we discussed it a little bit yesterday, but to a little bit, when you see things,
The details are what tell us about it.
I'm sorry?
The details tell us about something.
Right. We see things in relations. Like you said in cause and effect. To see something in its reality, in total independence of anything else, that really is within the capacity of the chokhmah of the episode. It is not within the capacity of any other faculty. Like we said yesterday, an animal sees things, and neither will have the human being under normal circumstance, a normal function, does not see things. When he sees a tree, he doesn't get shocked. Oh, what is it? He sees it only as a growth from the ground. Oh, there must have been a seed. There must have been a a plant, and then the tree became. He does not see like a total godly novelty. To see the godly novelty in things, that is only the ability of a chacham. But he sees the reality of something because it's real, not related at all to any of its functionality. This is what yesh me'ayin. There is no cause for me seeing it. Yesh means there's a cause. There's something that makes me see it. Here, there has no cause for me to seeing it. This is within capacity of Chochmah. As a matter of fact, I just want to put in a little important note. You know that the whole world, this is already hundreds of years, went off on a tangent. Where did the world come from? The concept of God creating the world, we can't really accept that. And what sent it into that tangent? Because they could not possibly relate to the concept that the world does not have a worldly cause for it, a cause and effect. It has a cause that is completely out of this world. Ayin. It is there because there's an ayin which is on a superior level totally that made it come into being. Without any explainable cause. Because they could not conceptualize, they didn't have this beetle of chokhmah to see, yes, this is reality and you have no explanation for it. The only explanation is that it's a godly, whatever, call it whatever you want, it's a force that is beyond your comprehension, beyond your observation, that created it. Because you have you don't see any explanation for it. This is the reality. So it says, no, it's not reality. It has to have come some other way that I can trace it back. And this is where they came up with all kinds of this shugas. Because it couldn't relate to yesh v'yayin concept. Because they lack the principle of chokhmah, of reality. There is a reality. That is a very special gift in a person. And this is why he says, the yesh as it is found from the ayin, just like a mitzvah, when you find something. Finding something means that you have no trace, you have no idea how it got here. And it comes to you totally unexpectedly. You stumble upon it. This is the yesh, the way Chokhmah perceives it. Because it sees it directly as Hashem's presentation. The reality is that everything that we see in absolute truth is, we see it because Hashem presents it to us to see it. No matter what logical structure we can concoct, that's the reality. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I heard there's an explanation in Hasidus that the planets, the sun revolves around the earth and so does everything else. And the science says the contrary, but what the science says on the contrary, they have amazing amount of proof beyond reasonable doubt. So I was wondering, what do the rabbis mean by saying that the sun revolves around the earth and other planets? Yeah, I read that letter, but it said nothing. Like he didn't even it didn't answer the dilemma. That's why I'm asking you, because I read the letter in the Hasidic Chumash.
What did it say? What did it actually say? So we have a reference point to talk about what the issues are with that. Or to clarify what that said.
Well, first of all, it was written in 1962. before all this technology we have now. So you're
The reality is the technology we have, that initial observation really doesn't help that initial observation. We want to look at universes far off and tell us that, but what we see like now, what we know now is pretty much been like that was like a lot of them from like Einstein. That was a lot of like Einsteinian, and a lot of it was based on what we have our observations now. I mean, a lot of what we have, our perception is actually a lot of a theory that we use of the way to visualize it.
it's not really a theory. It's been
No. Okay, I don't have much time. I just want to make a point here.
Okay.
You talked
Maybe
about.
didn't learn enough.
No, well, none of us learned enough. Don't put yourself down.
Okay. No, it's not.
We spoke before about intelligence,
Yeah.
and we said that intelligence really is a soul base. In other words, intelligence is exclusively a human quality. There are two different ways to know things. You know things the way the computer knows things, the way the animal knows things, and the way the human being knows things. We absolutely believe that the truth is the way the human being knows things, not the way the computer knows things and the way the animal knows things. Such as what I mentioned before, 1 and 1 is 2, and we believe that it's 2. There is a truth to the world that says that 1 and 1 is 2, even though scientifically 1 and 1 is 1 and 1. And you can convince any scientist that 1 and 1 is 2, because he has lost connection to his own soul. He only knows he only says things in physical terms.
Yeah.
Okay, but we believe that the soul, that is the truth of the world, not the physical manifestation of it. Okay, do we understand that?
Well, how does that answer my question?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
That
part I understand. Yeah.
Therefore, if we understand that, therefore, it is important to understand. The next step is that if we are to understand the truth of something, that truth has to be reflecting the truth of the soul.
The
truth of the soul.
Okay.
It cannot be divorced from that truth. Anything that is divorced from that truth is not truth. It's a relative truth. Relative to that situation, it is true. It's not called truth. Truth means that which is true all the way up to the soul and to God Himself. Okay, that is truth. You understand that too?
Yeah.
Once we understand that, now we have a very smooth road to understand what that means. See these tables over here?
Yeah.
They are arranged in a certain way that is suitable for us sitting around the table and learning.
Okay.
Right? When we entered this room, these tables were arranged already. We sat down around it. The question that I'd like to ask you is, are the tables arranged in order to facilitate our learning, or is our learning the result of the arrangement of the tables?
Can you please repeat?
Sure. Are the tables arranged in the way that they are arranged in order to facilitate our learning,
Okay.
or is our learning the result by the fact that we found tables arranged in this form?
Second. Our learning is the result.
Our learning is the result for the fact that the tables were arranged this way,
Yeah.
and the tables were not arranged this way, we would not be learning.
Well, it's a double contradiction, right? I mean,
No. I just asking you your intelligence. What do you think is the truth? What is the truth? What do you see? That the tables were arranged.
Well, the chicken and the egg.
No, not the chicken. I'm not asking in terms of time. I'm asking in terms of concept.
Okay.
The tables are arranged in order to facilitate our learning, or is our learning the result of the tables arrangement?
Well, then the tables are arranged so to facilitate the learning.
Okay, fine, Baruch Hashem.
Okay.
Even though that you may have arranged a table before you even started to learn. right? So from a scientific perspective, you would say, no, this came first. But from a truth perspective, or an Neshama perspective, you say, no, it had its purpose is first.
Okay, so the purpose of the table being arranged in such a way is for us
To learn.
Okay.
So our learning came first, before the table arrangement.
Our learning came first with the table.
Well, I think this is what enabled the table to be arranged in this way.
Okay.
This is a similar thing. What is this rotation of the sun around the earth or the earth around the sun? What is the function of that? What is the purpose? What is its significance? What is its truth? What is its godly significance?
That it's like it's like a clock. It's like a mechanism.
No. I'm asking how it works. I'm asking what is its significance. That's what I said to you before.
Well, very large objects pulling.
No, that's not significance. That's a physical action and reaction.
Okay.
I'm asking what's the significance of it.
I don't know the significance.
The significance of it is that we should be on earth over here sitting and learning.
Okay.
That's its significance. Therefore, it's the sun rotating around us because the sun is serving us, not us serving the sun.
Okay. So is that meant literally, or
It meant literally. In other words, God created everything. And the godly element, which is the truth of all existence, the reason it all works the way it works is because there is a godly element in it. And the godly element is that the sun should rotate around the earth in order to give the earth its whatever the sun gives.
So it literally means, but the thing is, they flew to space and they measured all these, what I'm saying.
I know all of that. I know all of
and
that.
there is just this
The question is,
documentation.
that's right. It works that way, and
It's
it
not
works.
even a question at this point.
No. It's not that they're not even attending to the question in the first place, to the question of truth in the first place. That's what I said before. They are attending to a subset of the truth, how it exists in a certain relative level of the worldly level. But world is not truth. World doesn't, world did not make itself. World is not the truth of existence. And if you approach it from a truth perspective, it's a completely different view. True, God created the world, and He created it in such a way that it should fit, so to speak, into a worldly context, so that it be a world. But what is the truth of that is a completely different concept.
Do we know how big the universe is?
Doesn't Delta say something?
Huh?
Doesn't Delta have a comment?
I'm saying, but we don't really know. I mean, it's constantly expanding. No one knows that.
But that's
the
my-
bodies also.
We
I
can
mean,
track
that
ourselves.
technically,
Like if you meet somebody who's had a secular education and you know what I mean, and who introduces me, you tell them that the sun revolves around the earth, they will. You know what I mean?
Sure, but science is constantly being proven.
Yesterday.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, come
All right,
on.
we'll have to leave it for next time, okay?
There's